I was about to complain about something small. My brother had more photo albums than me. He had more toys when he was little. And honestly, that was pretty much it. But then I started scrolling through everyone else's answers, and after reading what some people went through, I realized my complaint was nothing compared to theirs. Some of these stories were not just about being ignored. Some of them were about parents who were genuinely cruel. That was the part that scared me. Not the siblings, the parents. I was the first child, so I had the opposite experience. I had way more photo albums than my siblings. My mom used to joke that there were 1 million pictures of me, 500,000 pictures of my middle brother, and maybe 1 or 2 pictures of the youngest. At first, I always thought that was funny. Then I read through the thread, and suddenly it did not feel funny anymore. Because this was not really about photo albums. It was about kids realizing they were not loved the same way. Some of the stories went from casual sibling favoritism to actual emotional neglect. It made me sad. It made me think about how something that sounds small, like pictures, can actually mean a lot when you are the kid who does not have any. I am the youngest. My parents did not even take a picture of me when I was born. I can confirm that there are maybe 2 pictures of me by myself from my entire childhood, and I am not counting school pictures. I am not counting passport photos or ID photos either. Those were taken because they had to be. I mean real pictures, family pictures, the kind someone takes because they want to remember you. I grew up seeing other people with albums full of birthdays, holidays, baby pictures, random moments in the yard, and little memories that proved somebody was paying attention. I did not really have that, and it is a strange feeling, realizing there is barely any record of you being a child. It makes you wonder if anyone was excited you existed. It still makes me angry. I was quiet. I was shy. I did not bother anybody. My brother was the opposite. He was always trying to start fights with me. I could be doing my homework, not saying anything, and he would come up behind me and try to slam my head into the table. He would tackle me for no reason. He would hit me for no reason. I tried everything I could to get away from him. If my parents were going to the store, I would get in the car, but if he got in too, I would get out. Sometimes it turned into this ridiculous loop where I got in, he got in, I got out, he got out, and then it repeated. But when it came to how we were treated, he always got the better deal. They fixed up his room. They gave him air conditioning. My room still had exposed boards and no AC. Before that, we had shared a room. When we finally got separate rooms, he got to keep all the electronics. He had the radio, the game consoles, the TV. I had nothing for months. My parents acted like everything was my fault. He started so many fights that eventually their solution was just to tell us not to talk to each other. So we didn't. We have barely spoken for 16 years. He has mental health problems. My dad knows it. My mom pretends it does not exist and shuts down anyone who says otherwise. I had an incredibly similar situation. When I wanted to play soccer, my parents signed my brother up too, but instead of letting me move forward, they made me stay behind in the junior team with him. We both wanted to try karate. After one lesson, he wanted to quit. So they pulled both of us out. In high school, I wanted to take AP classes and college classes. They told me they did not have time to drive me anywhere. But somehow, they always had time to pick him up and drop him off whenever he wanted to hang out with friends. Eventually, I learned to stop asking for things. When I was 14, I had to walk 8 miles home through heavy traffic because they forgot to pick me up from a concert band presentation. They also did not come to the presentation. They were too busy taking him out to dinner because he got a 2.3 grade average. Meanwhile, they refused to talk to me for 2 weeks because I got an A- in math. So yes, I am still bitter. And the worst part is that I am still living with them because they need help paying their bills. When I first tried to move out, my dad got sick. Then my mom had an accident and broke some ribs. I stayed because they needed help. My younger brother was not going to provide it, so I did the good daughter thing. I took care of everyone while trying to go to school, and somehow, I still have not been able to leave. I was in choir in high school. We were performing on a huge stage with hundreds of other high school choir students. I had been preparing for more than a year. Then I got the flu on the day of the performance. I felt terrible, but I did not care. I fought through it anyway because I wanted to make my parents proud. Afterward, I found out they did not even show up. They went to Burger King instead. That was it. I had performed sick, on a stage I had prepared for over a year to stand on, and they chose fast food. I had to stop reading the thread after writing that, because I could feel myself getting angry all over again. My dad always promised he would show up to my band concerts. In 8 years, I think he made it to one. At first, it hurt a lot. Then eventually, I stopped inviting him. I stopped telling him about them. But then he would get upset that I had not told him. That was the impossible part. If I invited him, he did not come. If I stopped inviting him, I was the bad guy. You really cannot win either way. I went the overcompensation route. The favorite sibling died, and even after that, I was still not enough compared to him. His death put him on an angelic pedestal. Everyone acted like he was perfect. But when he was alive, he was not. He did not do much with his life. He even stole money from my parents. But now that he is gone, none of that matters. He is remembered as perfect forever. And I am still here, still alive, still trying, still not good enough. It is impossible to compete with a dead person, especially when everyone has decided to remember them as someone they never really were. My father gave a speech at my wedding. He talked about how stubborn I was. Then he said not everyone has to excel in life to be happy. And apparently, I was one of those people. I remember sitting there thinking, why could he not find one thing I was good at? Just one thing. It was my wedding day. He could have said I was kind. He could have said I was loyal. He could have said I worked hard. He could have said anything positive. Instead, he talked about the things I had tried and failed at. That was what he chose to say in front of everyone. At my rehearsal dinner, my mother told my wife not to expect me to be good with money. She also told her not to expect me to be able to provide for her. That was the only thing she said. No congratulations, no warm advice, no blessing, just a warning about me. The funny part is that my parents are in their 60s with no retirement money. I am more financially stable than they are. But somehow, in their eyes, I am still the disappointment. I have cripplingly low self-esteem. I do not blame my brother at all. Actually, we have a really great relationship. He is one of my favorite people. He notices the differences too. He knows it is unfair. I am just the scapegoat. That is the simplest way to describe it. He did not choose to be favored. He did not ask my parents to treat me worse. At one point, I found out my mother was charging him significantly less rent than me, even though his monthly income was double mine. Her excuse was that he was saving up. When he found out, he said he felt uncomfortable about it. Then he told her he would pay the same amount as me. He really is a good person. Some favored children become awful. He did not. The unfairness was never his fault. It was always theirs. I am 21 and still living with my mother for financial reasons. Right now, I am trying to let go of every expectation that she will ever treat me well. I am not sure I can fully free myself mentally until I leave. But at least I have that to look forward to. I look forward to not being called pathetic when I am depressed. I look forward to not being asked if I forgot my medication whenever I am angry. I look forward to not being locked out of the house at midnight in winter because I used the bathroom at the wrong time. I look forward to not having the failure of my long-term relationship used as a weapon against me. So yes, I have a lot to look forward to. My parents were the same way with my older brother. For years, I blamed him. I thought he was the reason everything was unfair. I thought if he had not been the favorite, maybe they would have treated me better. Then I spent some time away from the family. That distance helped me see things clearly. It was not his fault he was the favorite. My parents were the problem, not him. I have been rebuilding my relationship with my brother ever since, and I am glad I figured that out before I lost him completely. I always felt like my sister was my mom's favorite, and I was my dad's favorite. Then my dad left. After that, it was not anything huge or dramatic every single day, but it was frustrating knowing my sister would always get the benefit of the doubt. She got more leeway, more patience, softer treatment. Then, whenever my dad visited, the opposite happened. Suddenly, I was treated better, and it was awkward watching the same thing play out from the other side. One parent's favorite, Another parent's favorite. Two kids stuck trying to survive the balance. It made me realize how strange the whole thing was. I tried to excel at things my sister could not do. I guess I thought if I could prove I was better at something, my mom would finally notice me. My sister was bad at foreign languages, so I became fluent. In my head it was like, look mom, I am smarter than her. But it did not work, because it was never supposed to be a competition. I probably would have been better off if I had not spent so much energy trying to beat her. I was not really trying to be better than my sister. I was trying to be loved. I just did not understand that at the time. My parents compared everything my siblings and I did. So my middle sister, who is 2 years younger than me, started doing the same thing. Eventually, she kind of became the favorite. Then I developed an anxiety disorder. My parents do not really believe in mental health, so I think their opinion of me dropped even further. Being the oldest sister in that house was weird. My sister is now more successful than I will probably ever be, and honestly, I am fine with that. I just want a low-key life. I want friends, I want to do good work at my job, I want to talk to my boyfriend. I am not trying to be perfect anymore. I think she is still trying to impress them and everyone else. To some degree, I probably am too. But I care less and less every year. There are a lot of things about my life that my parents refuse to accept, so I have decided to try not to worry about it anymore. I am the middle child between two sisters. My mother always preferred girls to boys. Because of that, I was always treated like I was in the wrong. Even when she caught my sisters actually doing something wrong, she would punish me instead. Eventually, it built up to what I call being kicked out of the house when I was 10 years old. She called one of her ex-husbands. He was not my father. They had also gone through a nasty divorce. She told him that if he did not come take me in, she was putting me in a boys' home. So this man uprooted his life from several states away and took me in for a few months. After that, I was bounced from house to house. Eventually, I ended up with one of my aunts. So yes, I was the least favorite child, and I got kicked out when I was 10. I am okay now. I moved far away from that whole situation. I consider that man my father. I consider my aunt a mother figure. I am grateful for what he did. He did not have to do it. He could have called someone else. He could have called the authorities. He could have hung up. But he came, and I try to model parts of my life after him because of that. As the oldest of 5, I was treated favorably most of the time, unless something went wrong and I was nearby. Then, it was automatically my fault. That was the rule. If I was there, I should have stopped it. If I was not there, I should have been there. By the time I was still a kid myself, I had already developed dad reflexes. I was not just an older sibling. I was another parent. Except I had no authority, only responsibility. I am also the oldest of 5. I had mom reflexes by the time I was 6 years old. That sounds funny until you actually think about it. A 6-year-old should not have mom reflexes. A 6-year-old should not be monitoring younger siblings like a tiny adult. But that is what happens in some families. You are not really raised. You are assigned a job, and then people act surprised when you grow up anxious, controlling, exhausted, or unable to relax. I am the oldest of 5 too. Honestly, I mostly just watched and laughed. That probably sounds bad, but by the time you are in a big family like that, sometimes laughter is all you have. When everyone is running around, someone is crying, someone broke something, someone is blaming someone else, and you know you are probably going to get pulled into it anyway, you either panic or you detach. I learned to detach. Maybe that was my version of surviving it. I am the oldest of 5. Up until I was around 16, I wanted to be an only child so badly. I hated all the noise. I hated all the responsibility. I hated feeling like I had to help manage everything. But now, it is different. Now I love them. Now that we are older, the chaos is not the same. When you are a kid, being the oldest in a big family can feel like punishment. When you are older, sometimes the siblings themselves become the part you are grateful for. Not the way the adults handled it. Just the siblings. Reading the comments made me realize why my oldest sister is such a good mother. She had to deal with me and my other sister. She also got punished for things I did sometimes. At the time, I did not understand what that meant. I was just a kid. But now I can look back and see that she was carrying responsibility that was not hers. She was expected to be mature before she was old enough to understand why. I feel bad about it. And honestly, I think I am going to get her a nice Christmas present this year. I have terrible self-esteem. I am a perfectionist. I get uncomfortable talking about emotions, and now I constantly try to please the people in my life. I am the oldest of 3. My parents are huge sports people. They are the kind of parents who force their kids into extreme athletic training because they want to live through them. I was never good at sports. The first time I tried out for a team, I got cut. So my parents just moved on to my siblings. After that, they basically ignored me through high school and college. They ignored my achievements. They left home every weekend to travel around the country for my siblings' tournaments, and left me home alone. They met people and did not even mention they had an older child. That led to some very awkward moments when I met people who knew my parents, and they had no idea I existed. They did not even attend my college graduation. They were too busy traveling for one of my siblings' sports events. I was literally told that a tournament was more important than my graduation, so I spent graduation day alone. I watched my friends and roommates celebrate with their families, and I tried to act like it did not hurt, but it did. Can you imagine missing your first child's college graduation for sports? After college, I moved abroad and never looked back. I talked to them maybe once a month, sometimes less. They did not even tell me Happy Thanksgiving. I think moving far away made it easier for them to pretend I do not exist. I have lived abroad for years, and they have never once tried to visit. But I built my own life. I married an amazing person with an amazing family. I surrounded myself with friends who became family. And I learned that family is who you choose. People ask why I talk to my parents at all. Honestly, I have wondered that too. For a while, we talked because I was close to my siblings. But every conversation with my parents brought up anger from the past. They would talk about politics. They would talk about things that irritated me. And underneath all of it, I was still carrying the same old hurt. Eventually, we started talking less, and it felt freeing. I still talk to my siblings, but I do not feel the same obligation to keep trying with people who made me feel invisible for most of my life. I try to have a sense of humor about it. I call myself the black sheep. Deep down, it hurts. But I honestly think my parents just do not understand me. They do not understand my interests. They do not relate to me the way they relate to my siblings. I do think they love me. I just do not think they connect with me. And those are not the same thing. It took me a long time to understand that. You can be loved in a family and still feel lonely in it. You can be cared about and still feel like nobody really sees you. My mom was always wonderful to me, but she passed away 7 years ago, right as I was becoming an adult. My dad does not get me, and it feels like I basically do not have parents anymore. I came from a very religious Southern family. When I was young, I was sheltered, homeschooled, and extremely religious. I was my mom's only child. My dad had another son from a previous marriage. When my parents split, things were fine for a while. They stayed friends. I still had a good relationship with both of them. My dad and I bonded over video games. He would pull out his old laptop and joystick and we would play MechWarrior. Sometimes I would bring my N64 over and we would play Mario Kart. That was the closest I ever felt to him. Then both of my parents started rebuilding their lives. I moved in with my dad after an argument with my mom. At first, it was great. It felt like the two of us against the world. Then he met a woman, and he changed. He stopped putting effort into me. It got worse after they got married. His new wife had 2 daughters. At the same time, I was starting public school for the first time after being homeschooled my whole life. Socially, it was hard. That was the perfect storm. My dad no longer had time to play games with me. He started paying more attention to my stepsisters. One was the bubbly cheerleader. The other had gotten pregnant by a bad boyfriend. So I started staying in my room. I turned to the internet. I read everything I could. I started questioning the religion I had been raised with, but I kept quiet because I knew it would crush my dad. I also got into online gaming. I tried to show him World of Warcraft because I was excited about it. He acted like it was a waste of time. I did not understand what had changed. We got into so many fights. He called me a computer addict. He told me I was wasting my life. He told me I was a disappointment. So I retreated inward even more. Now I am a software developer. I make more money early in my career than my dad made after years in his. I taught myself. I did it without college. And I have still never heard him say he is proud of me. When we talk, I hear all about my sisters, their families, their jobs, their husbands, my older brother, everyone else. He barely asks about my job. He gets my girlfriend's name wrong unless I say it first. I have tried to reconnect with him. I have asked him to game with me since we live in different states. He always says he is too busy, or that we should do it after the new year. Then the next year comes and nothing changes. I am tired of not having a dad. Since my mom died, I feel like an orphan, except my father is alive. He just pretends to care enough to make himself feel good. My mom was abusive toward me, but thankfully, she was never abusive toward my brother. When it came to attention from her, I only knew the negative kind. When we were around the rest of the family and she acted nice to me, I thought it was strange. Because at home, I only knew her hitting me and tearing me down. As I got older, I looked for affection anywhere I could get it, usually from older boys. Whenever she saw someone treating me well, she did whatever she could to ruin it. After years of abuse, I finally decided to cut ties with her. I have been incredibly happy for the past 5 years. My brother and I do not really have a relationship anymore. When I moved out at 18, my mother changed. She did not have me to take things out on anymore, so he saw a different side of her. For a while, we got close. He helped me a lot with my oldest child. Eventually, we both forgave our mother in different ways. He forgave her and started a new relationship with her. I forgave her and cut ties completely. It was honestly one of the best and most exhilarating things I have ever done. But my brother thought I was overreacting. He kept saying it was not fair to keep her grandchildren away from her, so now we do not talk. My mom was the same way with me. I remember getting report cards where teachers wrote that I was fun to have in class. One year, my mother actually called my teacher. She told the teacher she knew that comment was a lie because she lived with me. Imagine being a kid, and even your teacher's kindness is not allowed to exist. Someone outside the house saw something good in me, and my mother's first reaction was to argue with it. That kind of thing stays with you. My grandmother did the same thing to my father. He is the only one in his family with a house, a healthy marriage, and a reliable income. The others cannot even handle driving across the country without asking their mother to fly out and pick them up. And they are adults. But somehow, my father is still treated like the bad one. He is stable, he is responsible, he built a life, and it still does not count. Sometimes families do not reward the person who actually becomes independent. They resent them for not needing the family anymore. My father was treated like that too. The others got help, excuses, and rescue missions. He got criticism. At some point, it becomes almost absurd. The person who has a house, a job, and a steady relationship gets treated like they are the failure. Meanwhile, the people who keep needing to be saved are treated like the precious ones. It is like some parents do not love competence, they love being needed. And if you are the child who figures things out, they do not know what to do with you. I had a stepmother like that. If I left my room to go to the bathroom, I was suddenly in trouble for something. Luckily, I eventually shot up to 6'1", and she was much shorter than me. After that, she mostly stuck to verbal abuse. My dad admitted to me that he threw me under the bus to make living with her easier for him. He knew she hated me more than she could ever be annoyed by him. I was from his first failed marriage. My sister from his second marriage did not live with us. My stepmother had her own kids, and I was ruining the perfect picture. My dad and stepmother eventually divorced after 17 years. Good riddance. I was born shortly after World War II. My father was broken by war, and my mother was clueless. They tried to raise a son, but they were guided by the parenting ideas of the time. Because of that, physical punishment was used freely, even when I was very young. I grew into a resentful and hostile toddler. Then my sister was born. She became the sweet one, the nice one, the easier child. It took me more than 50 years to realize I had no real support or goodwill from my parents and my sister. Eventually, I cut all ties with them. My parents are gone now. My sister has been completely out of my life for years. I do not miss them. I am grateful for the time I have left to examine the damage and maybe fix some of it. I am an only child, and somehow, I was still not the favorite. All I ever heard was about my cousin. My cousin won a ski competition. My cousin was getting engaged. My cousin was such a good kid. Why couldn't I be more like him? That was the comparison. Not a sibling, a cousin. It is a strange feeling when your parents look outside the house and still find a child they prefer over you. You think being an only child means you automatically win, but you can still lose. They will just find someone else to compare you to. When I won a competition, my mom did not say congratulations. She told me my cousin had won first place the year before. That was it. I had done something good. I had accomplished something, and she still found a way to make it about someone else. When I was younger, I used to imagine turning the comparison back on her. I wanted to compare her to my friends' parents. I wanted to point out how kind they were, how supportive they were, how much better they made their kids feel. But I never did. In a weird way, the constant lack of validation made me develop high self-esteem without needing approval, sometimes too much. Sometimes it turns into arrogance, but at least I do not wait around for her praise anymore. I have a brother, but I still get compared to my female cousin. She is a model. I am not. Even when my mom is proud of something I do, she still brings her up. It is always, "Oh, just like your cousin." No matter what I accomplish, somehow it becomes connected to her. It is exhausting, because even praise does not really feel like praise when it has someone else's name attached to it. I was constantly compared to a cousin. For years, she was the golden one. Then she had a falling out with the family. After that, they treated her like dirt. That was when I realized something. Maybe it was better that I was never the favorite, because in my family, being the favorite only lasts until you disappoint them. Then you fall from grace instantly. Watching that happen made me grateful I had never been put on that pedestal, because pedestals in my family were not built out of love. They were built out of expectations, and expectations can turn on you. I got a 33 on the ACT the first time I took it. My dad's response was, "That's it?" Then he made me retake it. That was what it felt like growing up. Even when I did something objectively good, it still was not enough. There was no celebration, no pride, no moment where he just let me have the win. Just the immediate message that I should have done better. After a while, you stop feeling proud of yourself. You start hearing the criticism before anyone even says it. I am also an only child. My cousins are graduating college, getting married, getting dream jobs, and doing all the impressive things. All I hear from my family is, "When are you bringing a girl home? When are you getting a real job?" That stuff hurts. It is hard enough feeling like a broke single loser without your own family constantly reminding you of it. The thing is, I do work. I am in the military. I also work a civilian job. The criticism is not really that I do nothing. It is more that I am not doing the kind of work they want. Why am I not a doctor? Why am I not a lawyer? Why did I not stay in college? I have my professional life on track for what I want. I am planning my future. But because it is not their version of impressive, it does not count. My boyfriend's family has treated him like this his whole life. He is 36. The things he has told me are ridiculous. I know it is hard not to internalize that kind of treatment, but feeding into their nonsense only makes it worse. My own dad used to call me and my sister stupid and worthless. It led to both of us ending up in abusive relationships because we wanted so badly to be wanted. That kind of family environment is toxic. It took us a long time to get into a healthier headspace. When you grow up being told you are nothing, even the wrong kind of attention can feel like love. That is the scary part. My family does not say this stuff because they are trying to be mean. At least, I do not think they do. They love me. They are not horrible people. They just do not realize that what they say hurts. We are Greek, and in my family, that is just how people talk. If you have seen families where everyone insults each other and acts like it is affection, that is basically what it is like. But even if it is cultural, even if it is normal to them, it still hurts. That is the part people do not always understand. Something can be just how we talk and still damage someone. I was the mistake of two stupid teenagers. My biological dad ran away to another country. My biological mom had me, then dumped me on my grandma. My mom later married an abusive man and had 3 other kids with him. They were all a few years younger than me. My grandma was a widow who had worked as a cleaner her whole life. She had very little, but she tried her best. We were extremely poor until she died of a heart attack when I was 8. After that, I rejoined my mom's household, and I was immediately cast as the black sheep. My stepdad had a small, successful building company. They lived in a big mansion-type house with a pool. My half-siblings had the latest toys. They did after-school activities. They had their own rooms. I slept in a sleeping bag in the lounge. At 13, I had to get a job and use the money to pay board. I was not allowed to have friends over. I was not allowed to do much of anything. My siblings went to a fancy school. I went to the local one. So I spent most of my time at the library, reading, studying, joining free activities, volunteering. I woke up early, did chores, worked odd jobs, exercised, ate fruit for breakfast, went to school, then went to work or the library until evening. Then I came home, did more chores, ate leftovers, and slept. Because of that routine, I did well in school. I got multiple full-ride offers for college. My guidance counselor, teachers, and close friends' families knew what was happening and helped me. In the end, I got a good job. I started a successful business. I am now far ahead of any of my siblings. My siblings treated me like trash and ignored me for most of my youth, probably because my mom and stepdad taught them to. Then the financial crisis destroyed my stepdad's business. The family became poor. My business prospered. Now I make enough money that I do not have to work if I do not want to. It is funny how everyone suddenly remembers you are family when they are in crisis, after ignoring you for most of your life. I am 33 now. I am happy with myself. I do not have family in my eyes. My experiences made it hard for me to open up and be vulnerable, so relationships are difficult. But those experiences also taught me discipline, independence, self-reliance, and drive. I have a small, tight group of friends. That is enough for me. I am in therapy, trying to learn how to open up more. Hopefully one day I will have a family of my own. Someone told me they could only imagine how proud my grandmother would have been. That hit me harder than I expected, because she was the one who tried. She did not have much. She did not have a mansion or a pool or fancy schools to offer me. But she had love. And sometimes that is the difference. A poor home with love can feel safer than a rich home where you are treated like a burden. I think about her a lot. I hope she would have been proud of the life I built. All I ever wanted to do was be a drummer. I was the middle child. My parents would not let me have a drum kit, so I switched to guitar and asked for lessons. They had invested in years of piano lessons from my sisters, but they would not let me take guitar lessons. Eventually, I moved to Los Angeles. I started a band. We got a record deal. We had a video on MTV. We had a Billboard Top 40 active rock song. It turns out I did not need their support after all. But honestly, I still want to be a drummer. Maybe one day I will buy the kit I wanted when I was a kid. I was told once during a serious situation that I was the favorite child, and I resented my parents for it. I felt horrible for my siblings. I never wanted them to find out because I was afraid of how it would make them feel. Being the favorite is not always some wonderful prize. Sometimes it feels like being handed something you never asked for, something that hurts everyone else, and you are left carrying guilt for a decision your parents made. My sister was the favorite. Maybe she still is. My brother is 26 and still lives at home because my parents enable him. As kids, my sister and I had a strained relationship. We do not live in the same state anymore, but I think we both understand something now. At the end of the day, we are each other's backbone. Favorite kids have their own problems too. My dad liked my sister most, partly because she looked the most like his mother. Because of that, he confided things in her that he did not tell me or my brother. When she was little, she would stare out the window for hours waiting for him to come home. When we got older, she told me why. My dad had secretly told her that sometimes he wanted to leave us and never come back. So all those times she stared out the window, she was terrified. She thought this might be the day he finally did it. He did eventually leave in 2009. 2 months before my youngest brother turned 18. She is the only one who still talks to him. I do not miss having a close relationship with my parents. People ask me that sometimes. They ask if I miss having a normal family bond. But I do not. It is hard to miss something you never had. To me, they are just people. I have the same kind of emotional attachment to them that I have to strangers. That might sound cold, but when a relationship was never warm to begin with, distance does not feel like a loss. It feels like accuracy. I worked with a guy for many years who constantly talked about his son. I knew more about what was going on in his son's life than I knew about my own nephew's. For 10 years, I thought he only had one child. Then one day he mentioned his daughter, only because she had a baby. That was the first time I heard she existed. I felt so sorry for her. I hope she does not waste a single moment worrying about his opinion of her, because from the outside, it was obvious. He had already decided which child counted. My parents say I am just more independent than my younger sister. She is the baby of the family. We were both adopted, but I never felt like I connected with the family the way she did. I moved out as soon as I turned 18. Now I talk to my parents as an adult, and we get along much better. Some people you can only take in small doses. I guess that is how my parents feel about me. And honestly, it is how I feel about them too. The distance made things easier. Not perfect, just easier. I overcompensated. I insisted on being perfect, even if my family did not recognize it. As a result, I became the most successful of my siblings by far, financially and personally. Now the script has flipped. They hate me because I have more than them. The moral of the story is that you cannot control what people think of you. If you fail, they judge you. If you succeed, they resent you. So at some point, you have to stop building your life around their reaction. Make your life what you want it to be. Something similar happened to me. I could tell I had succeeded at my wedding when my sister gave me dirty looks the entire time. Everyone saw it. People came up to me and said she was just jealous of how well I had done. I know it sounds petty that I found joy in that, but I had spent my whole life being mentally twisted around by her and my parents. I could never tell if I was doing anything right, even when I was. So when other people saw it too, it felt validating. It felt like maybe I was not crazy. Maybe I had been doing better than they wanted me to believe. I also followed the overcompensation route. But the thing is, it does not matter how many awards or achievements you get. Any positive attention is temporary. Then you are pushed right back behind the favorite. That is the part people do not understand. You think if you work hard enough, win enough, earn enough, become impressive enough, it will finally change things. But if the family system is built around someone else being the favorite, your success just becomes background noise. You get a moment. They get the position. I had a huge falling out with my family over this. It sucks. But honestly, my life is great. So I am not missing much without them. That sounds harsh, but it is true. Sometimes people act like losing contact with family is always tragic. But if the family relationship only brought stress, judgment, and pain, then losing it can feel peaceful. I still wish things had been different, but I do not wish I was back in that dynamic. There is a difference. I have to actively choose to ignore the snide comments if I want my family in my life. And I do want them in my life, despite everything. But I have had to learn that their treatment of me is their issue, not mine. That is easier to say than to believe, because when you grow up hearing little comments all the time, you start thinking they must be true, but they are not always truth. Sometimes they are just someone else's bitterness leaking out. I hate snide comments from family, and the worst part is what happens when you finally call them out. You can only take so many little remarks before you say, "Why would you say that?" Then they look at you like you have 9 heads. Suddenly you are too sensitive. Suddenly you cannot take a joke. Suddenly you are the dramatic one. But they know what they are doing. They know exactly how to make the comment small enough to deny and sharp enough to hurt. I was the black sheep of my family. My parents divorced when I was 4. Both of them had undiagnosed mental health issues. My mom's side of the family genuinely despised me from the time I was a kid. I had all female cousins. My 2 older brothers were the only boys, so they were treated better. My aunts never disciplined their own kids. Their children could do no wrong. My brothers were seen as boys who just needed a good influence. I was seen as a burden. After my 19th birthday, on Thanksgiving, they set up a birthday cake for one of my cousins whose birthday was in December. I mentioned that nobody had told me happy birthday. My grandmother told me that because I did not write proper thank you notes, I did not deserve to have a birthday. My mom briefly married a man who was known to be unsafe around children, and she had my sister with him. I moved in with my dad shortly after. At first, I thought maybe they hated me because they hated my dad. But no, they treated my half-sister like gold. My cousins stole from me. They humiliated me on family vacations. They blamed me for bad things that happened to them. My dad passed away in 2010. Since then, I have not really had family, but my boyfriend has a good family, and that helps. My wife did not understand at first. She came from a different kind of family. She pushed me to reconnect with my mother before our wedding. I tried. Then my mother tried to convince my wife that I was abusive, right in front of me. My wife knew I was not, but that was the moment she finally understood. She finally saw what I had been trying to explain. I have not talked to my mother since my wedding. She is a terrible person. I do not want or need that in my life. I am in my 11th year of no contact now, and it has been a very good 11 years. My husband is not the favorite child. His parents are kind of terrible. I grew up in a supportive family, so it took me a long time to understand that not all families were like mine. For a while, I thought he should try harder. I thought family was family. I thought maybe if he just talked to them, things would get better. But eventually, I realized I should not push him to have a relationship with people who only upset him. His parents were not difficult because he misunderstood them. They were difficult because that is who they were. Family can be the bonds we build, not necessarily the ones we are born into. I learned that if your family keeps hurting you, you do not have to keep showing up for holidays just because you feel obligated. Sometimes people say, but they are your parents, or, but they are your family. But being family does not give someone unlimited access to hurt you. If your partner really understands the situation, they should not force you to go back into it. A holiday is not worth sacrificing your peace just to make people comfortable, especially people who never cared about your comfort. My life right now is like this. My sister and I are barely allowed to eat. Meanwhile, my little brother is overweight because he eats constantly and nobody stops him. They are getting him a car for his 18th birthday. My sister and I each got $50. Whenever I achieve anything, they tell me it was not good enough. I literally came first in a design competition in my state. I showed my stepdad. His response was that I should have finished it sooner and that I was useless. My mom promised to get me a desk for my room. Then she said she had no money. But she went out and bought my little brother a PS4 for no reason other than he wanted one. It is disgusting. If I ever have kids, even if I naturally relate to one more than another, I am going to treat them equally. Because this messes you up. It makes you resentful toward your whole family. The thing I have learned from being the child who was not favored is that it changes how you see love. You stop trusting praise. You stop believing people when they say they care. You become hyper-aware of every small difference in tone, every little comparison, every missing invitation, every picture you were not in, every event nobody showed up to. Some people overcompensate. Some people disappear. Some people become perfectionists. Some people stop trying completely. Some people rebuild relationships with their siblings once they realize the siblings were not the real problem. Some people cut off the parents and never look back. There is no single way it affects you, but it does affect you. Because children notice. They notice who gets the better room. They notice who gets driven to practice. They notice who gets celebrated for average grades while they get punished for almost perfect ones. They notice who gets pictures. They notice who gets excuses. They notice who gets believed. And even years later, after they grow up and move away and build their own lives, some part of them still remembers being the kid who was standing right there, waiting to be chosen, and realizing they never would be. A few years ago, I lent my mom money. I thought she needed it for something important. Then she used that money to buy my brother an iPad for his birthday, and then she forgot my birthday. The worst part? We are twins. so it is not like my birthday was hard to remember. It was the same day. She remembered his. She used my money to make his day special, and somehow, mine did not even matter. That is the kind of thing that tells you exactly where you stand. My mom clearly favored my younger brother. She always preferred boys. He had some extra needs growing up, and that only made the attention he got even stronger. But I never really resented him for it. He was a cool kid. It was not his fault. Sometimes he would even take the blame for things I did because we both knew his punishment would be lighter. We both knew the system. We both knew how unfair it was. But what could we do? He passed away when he was 25. Now a huge part of who my mom is revolves around having lost a son. He is still the favorite. Even gone, he is still the favorite. And I am still not mad, because he really was a good brother. My parents do not have a single picture of me before the age of 5. I am the third of 4 children, so either they were not impressed by me at all, or I am adopted. That is the joke I make. But honestly, it is a strange thing to think about. You see families with baby pictures everywhere. First steps, first birthdays, little outfits, messy faces, random moments. And then you realize there is just a blank space where your early childhood should be. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they just did not think about it. But when you are the child without the pictures, it is hard not to take it personally. Being the least favorite made me work harder. I kept trying to achieve more. I kept trying to prove myself in their eyes. At the time, it hurt. It felt like I was always chasing something I could never reach, but looking back, part of me thinks it was a blessing in disguise, because it pushed me to accomplish more than I might have otherwise. It helped set me up for a better future. I do not think parents should treat their kids that way. I would never call it good parenting. But I did take the pain and turn it into momentum. I guess that was my way of surviving it. My grandparents always had 2 favorite cousins. Growing up, they would go to the ends of the earth for them. They showed up to every little event, every kindergarten concert, every small achievement. But when it came to me, they could not even be bothered to show up to my birthday parties. Eventually, we stopped having family parties when I was in 3rd grade, because they would say they were coming and then just not show up. That stuff hurts when you are 9. There was also a lot of drama because they did not like my parents. My grandma once sent my mom a 10-page letter calling her cruel names and saying I was not being raised right and would never amount to anything. So it was not just me getting hurt, it was my parents too. Thankfully, I had great parents. Because of that, the main effect was that I became emotionally detached from my extended family. I still see them at Christmas sometimes. That is enough. My grandpa is very old now and not doing well. I thought I would feel something, but I do not. I felt guilty about that for a while. Then I realized, you reap what you sow. My mother constantly gives things to my 2 brothers, but because I am capable of taking care of myself, I get nothing from her. And honestly, I can buy my own things. That is not the problem. The problem is watching it happen right in front of me. We are all in our 40s now. This is not childhood anymore, but we will go out to lunch, and my mother will pay for everyone's meal except mine. Then she will ask my brother if he wants her to buy him a pie to take home. And I am sitting there thinking, I guess I will buy my own pie, Mom. Again, I can do it. I can pay for myself, but after decades it gets old. It is not about the money. It is about being reminded, over and over, that I am not the one she wants to take care of. When I was younger, it upset me. Mostly, it was my father and my brother. Those 2 just got along better than my father and I ever did. They liked the same things. They understood each other more easily. For a while, I took that personally. Then I got older and realized it did not matter as much as I thought, because I do not even enjoy the things my dad enjoys. If I had been the favorite, it is not like I would suddenly want to hang out with him and do those things. We are just different people. So eventually, I kind of flowed with it. It still hurts sometimes, but I stopped trying to force a bond that neither of us really knew how to build. My parents had 4 kids. The oldest 2 were twins. Then there was me. Then my younger brother. The twins always got special treatment. One time, when my younger brother and I were in trouble, my mother told us that we had been accidents, while the twins were planned. I was maybe 10 years old, Even then, I told her, "You cannot say that to kids." I told her I would remember it when I grew up. 30 years later, I brought it up. She insisted it never happened, but my brother remembers it too. When it was present time, the twins always got something special. Even though we were not a rich family, there was always money for them. On one birthday, my twin brother got a brand new expensive bike. I got a second-hand girl's bike. My dad tried to convince me it was just as good as a boy's bike. Maybe it worked at the time, but I still remember it. That is the thing about being treated differently. The adults forget, the kids do not. I could never do anything right. My mom never cared who I actually was as a person. Instead, she made up a version of me in her head and stayed angry at me for not being that person. The version of me in her head was some out-of-control teenager, and I think she liked that version because it gave her attention. Any little thing I did wrong got blown way out of proportion. Then she would call everyone she knew and cry about how I was so out of control and how she did not know what to do with me anymore. She even tried to get family members to bet money that I would be pregnant by 19. When I moved out on my 18th birthday, she told my grandfather I was a stripper. I have never been a stripper. She just made things up. The joke is on her now. I am 26. I have been in a relationship with the same amazing man for almost 8 years. We own our home. We bought a rundown mobile home, fixed it up, and now we do not have a mortgage. I have a child I love. I am working toward an accounting degree. I was the first person in my family to walk at high school graduation. The first to go to college. I have a 3.8 GPA. I still have debt from the renovation, but we can handle it. And considering where I came from, I think I am doing pretty well. I am the second of 5 children, and I was responsible for raising my 2 youngest siblings. Not just helping out once in a while. Actually raising them, cuddling them, dressing them, making sure they were washed, making sure they were fed, dealing with head lice because treatment would have taken money away from my mother's habits, taking the blame when they got in trouble. My older sibling got almost everything they wanted. They were allowed to visit friends. They were allowed to sleep over at other people's houses. I had to stay home for the kids. It damaged all of us in different ways. The sibling below me was neglected the most because I was only 2 years older and obviously did not know how to parent properly. My relationship with my youngest 2 siblings is complicated because I am their sister, but I was also basically their mother. The most frustrating part is that my mother still cannot understand that she was not really a parent to me or the younger 2. It affected whether we wanted children of our own. The baby of the family is now in their mid-20s and raising a child with as little involvement from our mother as possible. The rest of us have mostly decided not to have kids. As for me, I feel like I already did the child-rearing thing. I was just a child myself when it happened.